restart. Okay, so technically, I should go live on YouTube any second now. So I'm gonna watch this page. Excellent connection, there we go. Okay, so my settings were still in there. I just had to update the plugin to its latest version. And in the meantime, OBS had no indicator of whether or not the plugin was running at all. But I ran their installer and they updated me, and now we're back on YouTube. Hello YouTube, how's it going? I'm back. We had a little bit of a technical flub there in that I installed graphics drivers. Now keep in mind, the viewers in chat were telling me the last time I installed, I had to restart my computer. I have not had a single word about whether or not I need to restart my computer on these drivers. They did not say I needed to restart. That would have been a really good opportune time for a reset. But we've gotten Firefox running. We've gotten my multi-streamer plugin running because all I had to do was update it to the latest version. We have all of the chats running, which should technically be connected, although no word on whether somebody has left a chat in the YouTube yet, because the Chrome still doesn't like to open up this. Oh, I've got an edit button at least. I've got the edit button working, but this still doesn't work. Let me hit reload on this one more time and see if anything happens. Actually, I kind of like Social Stream Ninja running in its own application, because then it's got these two windows sort of secretly open in the background for me. Let me know if you're saying anything in the YouTube chat, because I actually don't have anything where I can see the chat open. I could do, yeah, there we go. Okay, so the last one was Lawn Dog going, what is going on? So if the YouTube chatters come back, I'm sure they will be represented. I'm positive of this. All right, so we can get to some AutoCAD now. Luckily, what we have to do today is relatively easy. We're just gonna make a big bracket that's gonna hold on to the power supply. So first things first, because the second part of today was going to be installing. Oh, hold on, did that not go away? You have to switch to the new YouTube stream chat? Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so to do that, I guess here I just need to... How do these work? Is that the new one or is this the old one? Yeah, this is the problem with YouTube. So, how do I do that? Select the live session, select this one, activate. Where did it go? It closed it. How do I open it? Yeah, it wants the session ID. It does not like this. Let's see here. So if I stop all, that's stopping everyone. Does that mean this one stopped? No, this one's still going. What in the world? This is, hold on a second, we'll get there. Auto find and activate. There's the new one. Do I really have to do that every single session? And I can't get rid of this one? Remove source, there we go. Every single session I'm gonna have to hit auto find and activate. Isn't that fun? I wonder if I can use like a Stream Deck poke command in order to get that running. So if I view, that doesn't come up. If I, really? I gotta hit activate source and then it, no, that doesn't, oh my God. Okay, hold on. Let's get rid of this one. Okay. Standard WebSocket, auto activate, YouTube, auto find and activate, bada bing, and I unview it or view it. Okay, so now that's running. I messed it up. Check on Twitch. Is Twitch running? 1, 2, 3. YouTube are for lazy DRO nerds. What? That one updates, that one updates, this one does not. Why does that one not? Let's clear the cache on it. I have a button for that. Clear the cache. And now my 4, 5, and 6 show up. Maybe they're not up enough in... Yeah, 4, 5, 6 shows up there. And in this one, if I... There it is. Okay. Okay. Now, the cameras. Oh, Stream Deck stopped working. Okay, all right. Yes, Stream Deck stopped working. Let's take a look and see. Is it running here? Stream Deck is no longer connected with OBS. Yeah, okay, it crashed. So now we start up Stream Deck. And then we wait for Stream Deck to start up. Stream Deck is started up. Now, theoretically, with the update... Oh, fantastic. Did the Stream Deck's connection to OBS break? Is that more plugin stuff that I... Oh, god damn. Fun times. That means that the OBS WebSockets plugin... You know, I looked at the plugins. We have Advanced Masks, Multi-RMTP, Glow Shadow. We do not have WebSockets. Oh my god. Okay, OBS WebSockets. This has been... I think we're at rage quit territory here once I get OBS WebSockets back figured out. This is not just switching browsers. This is retooling a lot of the stream by hitting that OBS update button. Hi, Lawn Dog. We just barely got the one plugin for OBS working, and I didn't realize that I had another one that I had to install. I can't believe that the ones that like error out at the beginning of opening up OBS stayed. Masks. I don't know if I'm using ASIO. Multi-RMTP, Stroke, Glow, and Shadow. Everything else is coming soon, but then it dropped the WebSocket plugin, which is kind of vital for me. This is fine. I haven't updated these in a long time, so. When did you fix the DRO in the mill? I didn't. It's still broken. The x-axis is still broken. I need to pull apart the mill and fix that. Why you gotta frame it like that? When did you do this thing? All right, let's see. What are we doing here? We're doing OBS WebSockets. I think this is the plugin that I had before. So GitHub, you always have to remember how to use GitHub. This is like not a start. This is not a hashtag. We're going to do hashtag AutoCAD on Thursday. I spent the better part of 2 hours trying to just do some minor updates, and it's 3 hours just trying to do some minor updates, and it's kind of crash and burn today as I discover that more of my functionality, like I can't turn that off, the start soon, because my sockets aren't working, and so other interactive things aren't working. The thing about GitHub is you got to look over here, and there's the About page, and then below it, there should be releases, although I don't see them. Let's see, we can look over here, code issues, pull requests, discussion actions, blah, 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 blah. Here's our About. Now included by default with OBS Studio. I don't think do I have OBS Studio? Scripts, oh, WebSocket server settings. Here we go, WebSocket server settings. That's still enabled. Remote address, messages now, 3 out of 21. If I hit Spring Arm Scene, that may not be an OBS thing then. It may not be an OBS WebSocket thing if it's already functioning on this machine. So then, is it a Stream Deck? Why would Stream Deck not be able to communicate with Oh yeah, it's missing a lot of scene names too. Oh, because it updated and it changed how things were organized. I bet you that's what it did. It changed how things were organized. So now my Stream Deck buttons don't work. So now I got to go into those. I should not have hit update. I should not have hit update. Update is a horrible trap. Waiting for OBS. What's going on here? You have all the electrical parts to make a CNC plasma cutter. That sounds cool. Stream Deck XL, standard, blah, blah, blah. I got the Stream Deck plugin for OBS Studio, version 224. That doesn't appear to have any options on it. No account. Why? What is broken? Why are broken? Start up Stream Deck again, I guess. If it like errored out or something. Quit Stream Deck. Wait, what's in the, hold on a minute. Profile 1, not default. Preferences? Yeah, it's the same thing. Okay, so yeah, let's close it again. Stream Deck is how I do a lot of my scene switching and stuff, so I gotta make sure that this thing works properly. I'm gonna wait a minute. I'm gonna let this thing do its thing. Now I'm gonna start this up again. Boy, what a session this has been, huh? Stressful. It still probably can't connect. Did OBS reset a setting? Settings in OBS, and I'm looking for, I don't know, something? No, I don't think it did. Automatic reconnect, network stuff, sources. Browse source hardware, blah, 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 blah. General settings. Output, show information dialog, blah, 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 blah. Record when streaming. Source alignment snapping, projectors, system tray preview, importer studio mode, multi-view. I don't know where Stream Deck stuff, because it seems to want to make like a connection to OBS and it can't. That's what I'm seeing from this end. Waiting for OBS. So let's take a look at the settings then. And let me actually pull this aside just in case I show something I'm not supposed to. OBS Studio just has the website link. So let's check the website link. It just wants me to buy a Stream Deck. What? What? Wait a minute, what? What? No, it shouldn't. It should plug into all of the stuff the way it is. It should be able to plug in and just work with OBS. So I don't know what's going on with that. And all my old settings for things like MQTT are still in there. Like if I try to run, what do I have that relates to MQTT? Well, chat hide. Chat hide, chat's gone. Although it didn't, oh no, that was chat cache. Well, you can see that it worked. The MQTT socket stuff worked because it just cached my chat. So that works. This one, for some reason, isn't working. I'm not going to uninstall it. What do I need to do? Well, there were no instructions. It just took me because it's probably a default preloaded plugin. I don't need to go to the WebSocket server session. We are in the 1080p scenes, not 1080p take two. I need to get rid of those old scene collections. Docs, view, reset UI. File settings, show settings folder. Profile folder, Remux. No, none of that. Usually when this breaks, I exit Stream Deck and then start it up again and it starts working. So I don't know. Have I updated Stream Deck? That may... It didn't prompt me when I started it, but... where am I checking for updates? Nothing to report. That's the marketplace. I don't know where the button is. Where's the button to check for updates? Check for updates. New version. Aha! Shortlurker's got it again. How does he keep doing this? What's up, Zafilda? We're dealing with a couple issues here before we start in with AutoCAD. Maybe I can get this design done by the end of the day today. By COB. But before I do, I need all my stuff to work so that my usual muscle memory can operate my stuff. You know, I'm not totally sure if it needs tons of updates. I don't recall it as needing tons and tons of updates. It usually just meshes with OBS pretty well. Files in use. OBS Studio. Be right back. Why does the WebSocket plugin always persist to the new version even though I need to uninstall it? It gives me a pop-up menu every single time. Yet the WebSocket plugin always works. Every time you have a new OBS Studio release, you need to update the Elgato. That's a good point. You got, like, we can see this. Cow and Lawn Dog, you guys need to move to the new chat. There's a new chat. You can't even see me, more than likely. Because now it seems every single time I have to remove the source, and then I have to autofill and activate, and now the new source is open. That one's open to actually the old source. So I don't know if maybe I got it in time. Give me some help, YouTubers. Yeah, I'm hemorrhaging viewers. That's okay. Test my arms waving around. That is so much delay on YouTube. Oh, because it's not live. There it goes. Found you again. Any YouTubers, you may not even be able to see this, but you need to follow me to the new instance, the new thing. So now I can do setup, and then I can do my face calibration. There we go. Okay. So now all of my stuff works again. Yeah, the comment from the Cow 275 was, from memory, every time you have a new OBS Studio release, you have to update from Elgato for the Stream Deck software, which then adds support for the new version of OBS Studio. That's what the Cow 275 said. The Cow 275 died in the process of moving to the new thing because Elgato install requires you to restart OBS because they are intertwined with one another. So yeah, I was okay. So we didn't actually kill anybody. Okay, we are completely absolved of any sort of guilt going forward because I started Stream Up fast enough that the YouTube software went, all right, I guess I'll grant you all of your old URLs and stuff. All that being said, I still haven't restarted Firefox. Probably from the beginning of the get-go, I probably should have restarted everything, including this computer, because this still doesn't work and I don't know why. Which is weird and disturbing. I have Origin, uBlock Origin is not running, and the little security thing over here is not running, so this should be raw dogging the website, but instead it's just unable to get that chat. So anyway, lessons, I don't think there were really any lessons learned here. This has just been the typical growing pains of your House of Cards streaming setup. What happens is your intrepid streamer is a very lazy person. And I mean, I don't just mean me. I'm using the royal we to indicate all of Twitch, unless you're Sushi Dragon or boom, your setup is something that you came up with years ago, and it's a House of Cards. Those redeems need to be on that social stream chat. I don't know why they aren't. They need to be on mine or this one as well. Anyway, oh no, that was the message for the redeem. Okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's your typical streaming setup is a House of Cards. Unfortunately, if you update something at an inopportune time, the whole thing can come crashing down. So that's what you guys just witnessed. There we go. There we go. I've got full control from the Stream Deck, which means I don't need to have tons of windows open. I don't need to click into OBS very much. I can use these controls right in front of me as my sole source of changing up what scenes are visible. I just need to get the muscle memory to use them. I know like Djibouti Show has multiple Stream Decks with multiple buttons. I think Milton T. Pike 1 does the same thing. He's got multiple Stream Decks to run his whole setup because it's much easier for me to do this in order to show you guys something over here than to click on something on screen and like scroll through a list of scenes. I just have everything available to me at my fingertips. It's nice to have for streamy stuff, and if I need to, I can also configure this pretty well on the fly and add stuff and delete stuff from it. I used to have system monitor panels on the thing too, which was always nice. All right, anyway, okay, back to AutoCAD. I have to do something with AutoCAD during the stream. I can't just sit here and restart all of my stuff. I said I would do AutoCAD, and we went through the trouble of starting it up and restarting everything. Let's unpin Chrome and see if I survive this whole ordeal. And then maybe pin social stream, because that's going to be a staple of the streaming setup from now on. OBS will not get pinned because it can get started up with a... Well, actually, social stream will get started up when I open the web pages for my stuff. I guess I can delete some of those web pages now that this thing will be handling all the chats. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, and you can view and unview the chats individually in the application. All right. That's not too bad. It's still a Chromium app, but let's start up Fusion 360. Fusion. Now this is best match here, but when I type OBS, best match takes me to the web page and not the app, and it does it through Edge. What the hell? Why would you do that? I have OBS installed on the computer. It's this link right here. Maybe it's because there's two. It's like, hey, maybe you just want to search. But when I do Fusion, I type in FUS and I get the Autodesk Fusion app without it starting up like a browser. So I don't understand what the deal is with that. Thanks for being consistent, Microsoft. Jeez. If I switch to something like KDE, I'll never have to worry about this crap again. The only problem is this piece of software right here does not work on Linux. Doesn't start a fuss. I always think fuss roda. I'm doing my shout when I start up this application. Fuss. And everything blows off of my desk. Okay, so latest version, everything. Graphics drivers. We didn't install the latest version of sound drivers. Although when I moved the mixer over, I think I did update all the sound drivers on this computer. We got the latest sound drivers. We'll just say that. It doesn't have to be true. Nobody's fact checking anything nowadays. We've got the latest browser from Firefox, from Mozilla Firefox. We've got the latest and greatest version of our chat scripts. We've got the latest Stream Deck. We have the latest Oh Bother. There are no earlier versions of me available. The starter T menu uses indexed results and it doesn't update its indexes in real time. That's very... Well, I could solve it by moving to Windows 11 and then I'll have a little ad in the corner at all times. I want the vintage, oh bother. I'm sorry, you just can't. You can't. They're all depreciated. None of them work on systems nowadays. They've just all been depreciated. They're full of viruses. Okay, so the projects we're doing is the gaming PC, not air cool upgrades, but actually technically it's the wall PC. I have to remember what I named these things. Wall PC. Oh yeah, there you go. So, you know, simple minds think alike. I named it wall PC. It's no better in 11. Why are they all like that? All these updates. What was our wall PC layout? That was the one that we were looking at. Something today has had the AC blasting on me today. Like I'm freezing cold. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just that I've been too stationary today, but usually all these lights are creating quite a bit of heat. We actually we had the vents cleaned. That's what it is. We had all the vents in the house cleaned, and so they left the registers. Yeah, that register is open. That register is open, and there's supposed to be a cashier. I can't reach it. They were taller than me. There we go. Oh, my calf muscle almost rolled up. Just run Netscape Navigator. Isn't that based on Chromium these days? I'm sure somebody's made a Netscape Navigator as a joke. The problem is all the browsers are now using Chromium. Most of them anyway, and Firefox does not. That's why I'm using Firefox. That's why if somebody suggests you run Opera or any of those others, they run Chromium. They're all running Chromium. You can't escape the Chromium onslaught. It is impossible. So yeah, I do not appreciate Chromium. Why are we not scrolling? Why are we not zooming in? Love the updates. Love the graphics drivers updates. Okay, that works. But when I scroll wheel, I'm not zooming in. Do I have to use Alt, Shift, Control? What happened to my scrolling? No, left click, shift, right click. No, right click is really for editing stuff. This should be zooming in. Home view, that's home view. Scroll is not working. Okay, 3DFX connection. 3D connection app, are you doing something? I updated the application. I updated Autodesk Fusion, and I lost scroll wheel. One screen. I'm tempted to turn this down to 1, but everything uses 3, so. Okay. So you changed it. Did they really change my scroll wheel settings? Are you... The day that I'm having today, the day that I'm having today, you decide to not let me scroll the mouse wheel in order to scroll in on... Ooh, okay, all right. I'm a calm person. I'm a very patient person. I'm a calm and patient. I'm a big boy. I'm a big boy, and I'm not going to cry on stream. Preferences. General, API, manufacturer, electronics, render, blah, 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 graphics, unit value display, default units. Where's like controls? I think it would be maybe in general. Preferences, controlling, general UI behavior would be. Theme dark, graphics drivers, yeah, dark blue. Why don't you just auto select that? Home tab, Z up, show tooltips. Pan, zoom, and orbit is Fusion shortcuts. Default orbit type is constrained. No reverse zoom. Gesture-based view navigator, Windows touchpad for gestures. Spacebar repeats the last command. Okay, so apparently that should all be the defaults unless they changed the control scheme, which I don't think they did. It just seems a little odd that it's no longer a click and drag, control center click, shift center click. Okay, shift center click is moving us around like that in an orbit. Yeah, because right click always did that. Yeah, I remember that. But why would zoom be locked? Perspective with ortho facers. Facers. Constrained orbit is fine because free orbit. Yeah, we want the constrained orbit. Zoom window versus fit. I'm not looking for that. That is so the plus minus is a control down there, but get out of this. Escape, escape, escape. Weird. Did they lock zoom control? Or did I enable or disable something? No, we don't want that. Okay, hold on. Yeah, zoom to window or fit. Okay, that's not it. I did something. You know, that's always the case, isn't it? I'm never willing to rule out that I have done something. I'm just looking for like a checkbox or something like that that I might have grabbed that would have limited zooming. Is there like a button that you hit that would do something like that? Effects. No, that's not it. Environment, River Rubicon, visual style, shaded with edges. Like clicking on this thing doesn't do it. That just gives me that control to go blah, 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 blah. Hold on, let's see if we can find like a simple thing that's like, oh, there's a checkbox right there that you have to hit. I wonder if this is gonna, because in Chrome it would default into my Fusion 360 account with the browser when I had the app open in the background, but I'm not sure if it does that anymore. Enable zoom scroll. I can't, the size of the image that you've provided me to tell me where that setting is, disable gesture-based controlled option. That's way down there, and I don't think it was enabled. I don't think it's either of these, because we just looked at that setting. Oh, use gesture-based view navigation. Disable that and click apply. Ah, it's back. That was it. Now I've got our 1967 zoom. Anyway, yeah, so that works again. So what that was gesture-based zoomed. I did not click that box. You saw me go through my settings and it was enabled. They must have enabled it thinking that we're using a laptop because our hardware is so scrub league that that it enabled that setting, because I certainly didn't, and I wasn't sitting here using this account on a laptop anytime recently. I didn't do it, I swear. Okay, so back to this thing. I'm trying to give everything in here a little bit of room to breathe. I need to pull in the fans, so now we're actually able to do the hashtag AutoCAD thing. Yay! So everybody celebrate. Oh my goodness. God. What a load of... I've had such a frustrating start to the stream. Let's put more windows up on screen just to make sure that like there's nothing that we can see fully. There we go. Do you think it's one of those ones where if I toggle it off and on a couple times, then it'll realize that I'm not using a laptop with a laptop mouse, even though it's a wireless? I don't know. 3D Connection, by the way, provided me with this wireless mouse. I'm using it wired. It is an expensive feeling mouse. It is an expensive mouse. It's a little bit more expensive than buying, for instance, a gaming mouse, which I would say is just fine to use on something like this. Some people prefer the super expensive CAD mouse, and it would probably be easier to justify on a sheet of expenses. It has that middle click feature that I don't really like. I think it's a little bit clunky. It sort of is a double of the mouse wheel click. So if you really want to definitively center click, you could also reassign the buttons on this thing. It's got okay software. It's about on par with the gaming mouse software that I've seen, and according to my users, it does have macros on it. The 3D Connection puck mouse, the space mouse, the one that you can move in 6 degrees of freedom in order to control your view, is very useful indeed. Fusion 360 has really good camera controls, like above and beyond. If you're doing stuff in Blender, like I found myself doing, the mesh editing things that Blender can do, it can do on a lower level than what I've seen in Fusion, although Fusion is constantly updating. So every time I say that Fusion 360 doesn't do X, they say, well, actually, there's a tab right there that you could hit. And so I'm often wrong about these things, but when I was editing the RC car body, this thing right here, my way over the top in terms of the amount of work that it took, Lancia RC car body, I used Fusion 360 to auto-generate the inside surface, which makes this kind of weird rocky surface. It is already a low poly outer, but then in order to split it down the middle and fix all the polygons along the edges in order to stitch the Fusion interior to the exterior properly, I had to go into Blender, and in Blender, I really wish I had this puck mouse, because then your camera is unbridled and you can zoom around stuff and kind of float around and get the view that you really want to get. I have never needed to do that in Fusion 360 though. For the things that I do, the camera is really, really good in Fusion 360. It's quite a good system that they have. Anywho, so we're trying to plan out this gaming computer rebuild that I'm doing. And one of the things that I would like to do is make a solid to lock down this power supply. But then I also want to bring in a 200 millimeter fan and mate that up to the front and back of both of these radiators. So I have two things that I kind of need to design here, and I need to see if these two things actually fit at all. It's kind of a weird setup, but we don't like doing normal stuff anyway. So I hit the Windows key. So in order to plan that out still, I guess what we'll do is pull in some GrabCAD parts. And before I do that, I want to make sure that I'm not clipping things together. What I'm doing is I'm getting rid of the 6 fans here. This has been enough cooling for games. I have been able to do all the gaming that I've wanted to do, and all these 6 fans over here are actually really good. And I'm doing like sign interpretation. I should do like an auto subtitles with signs. What I'd like to do in order to the 2 radiators. Listen, I can't afford a 200 millimeter radiator right now. I'm not going to buy one. Instead, I'm going to be really stubborn about this, and I'm going to build an intake manifold for my 2 radiators, because the surface area of these 2 radiators provides me with more than enough cooling to keep all of the systems of this computer nice and cool. I have the M2 drive, I have the chipset, I have the processor, I have the MOSFETs, I have the graphics card, all in the water loop. All of those things combining their powers to heat up all of my water. They're doing a great job though. Nobody's overheating, nobody's even getting all that hot. I mean, I can start up, again, you know, I'm not installing the latest AAA games, but in the games that I play, they're often pretty terribly optimized. They're doing great. They're doing great. So what I'd like to incorporate into this design is having a reservoir up high and having both of these radiators running with fans, but maybe make them a little quieter so that when I start up games, I'm actually not listening to 6 turbines. Instead, I think what I'd like to do is use these guys in a push-pull configuration sandwiched with the two radiators in the middle. I'd show you the radiators in comparison, but they are currently on the computer itself. So downtime is something that I would like to mitigate here. And so designing these things in CAD, and it's been a ponderous job and it's taken a long time, but the more we can design these in CAD and I can 3D print them, the faster things will go together in the end. Now this is a bit of a pithy reservoir. I do have a larger reservoir, that big guy that's sitting right to the right, but that reservoir I reserve for debubbling computers. So when I do a water cool setup like with Burn the Subs or with my gaming computer, I will use that reservoir and put that at a high place somewhere to debubble. And then it turns out with the gaming computer, all that's useless because I have so much silicon tubing in that setup that it just bleeds air into it. That'll probably still be a problem, but with the little reservoir like this up top, it'll have more of a chance for the bubbles to accumulate here instead of at some kind of a bend somewhere within the system. So on these two radiators, this is the design for the old gaming PC setup where I was planning on making it this whole comprehensive thing. This is an evolving design. We're turning it into a wall computer now. So in that vein, we can reconfigure these parts to not have all of my solids sticking out on them, because these are assemblies with the fans. What's up, Groovy? What is the top? What, this right here? That's a reservoir. It's a small reservoir. This is the pump. It's an EKWB pump. A vintage EKWB pump. They don't make these anymore because they're not a company anymore. They're not a company anymore, and then my bathroom scale isn't a company anymore. And when my bathroom scale company wasn't a company anymore, they said, what's that fucking blinking light over there? Unplug that server now. And then suddenly all of my weight records are gone. Those were from like 2016. It is an old scale. It is a nice scale though. It had a very nice look to it. I really like it. If you were looking at it while it's on the wall, the top part, oops, that's everything I can display. 123, hey, that's pretty good. See, look at how fast my glucose level came down. I've lost like 2 pounds, but the effect of the Ozempic is that I don't have as much like food in me. I ate, what was it, 2 hamburger roll kind of lunch, right? That was overeating a little bit. I should have just done 1. Lessons learned, I'll be more careful next time. But I ate that lunch and my glucose level came back down at like 1 o'clock when I was stressing out and begging for mercy from the gods of installers. But that, hey, it's back down already. Usually it takes until like after stream for my glucose level to eventually find its way back down. That's pretty cool. Put this over here. Good news is you can buy the non-EK rebranded, yeah, the pumps, but then the acrylic covers on this thing, by the way, are starting to crack. I'm a little, wait, you guys can't, it's over here. The acrylic covers right here, right around where these things screw in, they're starting to crack a little bit. I'm getting a little worried about them. I think they'll be fine throughout their service life, but if the pump dies, you can still buy these pumps. But I guess, has somebody swooped in and bought all the IPs for these things? But yeah, okay, so the whole point of this design is that the top piece, the thing that is taller than anything else in the system, is the reservoir. That's my like design, my core design principle about this whole thing, is that the lowest point is the reservoir. Now we might swap the power supply and whatever assembly we come up with for the radiators, but we're gonna design that in this file. So we wanna keep all of these imports in one place. What I'm gonna do is, because of the way Fusion 360 works, you have this list of components on the left. You can enable and disable the visual, the view of all of those components in that subassembly. Now this, maybe I should get rid of the subassembly since we're making a subassembly now. That might be a thing that I want to consider, but I think for right now I'm going to keep it simple, stupid, and we can potentially peel that off, peel that subassembly into a component of its own if we need to. I'm going to try to KSS on this whole thing and just make very basic mounting brackets for this so that we can then pull the parts into the real world, I can 3D print them, and then we can have a session where we put this whole thing together. It's not going to be a very elegant design. We're basically just taking the cage that I invented before and throwing it up on the wall. Blah, and we're just going to deal with it from there. Because I haven't been finishing projects lately, and it's really gotten on my nerves. We've had more projects come up, and we've had more things not get completed. So anyway, I gotta find these things. If I click on them, they will highlight in this menu. So we've got the two rad assemblies here, and if I click on them in this menu, they highlight on my timeline. Fusion 360 works with a timeline, so as you're going through your design, you want to import all of the things, all of your references first, all of your objects, then rearrange them, lock them in place, and then from there, you go sketch by sketch, extrusion by extrusion, making your parts. And typically those are just like brackets, right? I will design my brackets in Fusion 360. You import all of your datum points. You get them all in position with each other as best you can. Typically that will involve micrometers. In our case, that involved a reverse engineering of the backplate. Put them all in position, get them sort of approximately where you'd like them to be, and then you sketch and extrude off of the bodies in order to create the 3D printed solids that are just brackets. It's all just brackets in this design. At least we're going to keep it to that. I'm not going to do like the cages, for like the pump. I'm not going to make that. We'll just do a direct, to pump to back wall mount as direct as we can so that they don't twist in the wind. Okay, so anyway, so for these coolers, I can just open up the the display, the tree. There we go. That's what I was looking for. And disable all of these parts. So you. Technically, really, what I should be doing is pulling out the XT45 and putting that in position. And actually, you know what? I think I probably should do that just because I think it's probably better if I start these over. So what I'm going to do is pull in the two parts. So we're going to go to a different folder here where I've kept all of my computer project parts, and I've got a whole folder for radiators. And in there, we've got the XT45s. And as much as I would love to purchase Alpha Cool on their website, the company that makes this Alpha Cool, late to your question, I think 5 1/4 reservoirs in general are just not made anymore. I think you can still buy the big one on Amazon. But I'm not going to use the big guy. I'm going to use the little guy, which probably means I'm going to have to refill it more because those tubes just like breathe air. They just kind of like let your moisture out. So XT45 by 80 triple is what this reservoir is. XT45 by 80 triple. We're just going to simplify this thing by bringing these guys in here. I wonder if what I can do is replace this with the other one. So if I take this part and I go and I right click it, right click is where a lot of the menu options are typically hiding. Let's just see if I can do something here. I thought I saw, yeah, replace component. And then I can go into my computer projects folder and I can go to, oh, am I already in it? Yeah, I'm already in the folder that I'm in over here in the tree. So now I can find that file name, XT4580 triple. I got to make sure to get this right because you may not really be able to tell by the file name that it's what it is. So XT8045 triple replace. Okay, so the orientation is wrong. The positioning leaves some to be desired, but the part is replaced. I'm going to do that for both of them because we're making our own assembly. We could do that in a different file. I'm going to do it in this file just so everything looks cool. So replace component. Interesting that it resets all the positioning on it. Where's it going to put this one? Does it in the same way. Okay, now here's the trick. So because I replaced those components, these two steps have changed. Now they are pulling in the more basic model. Saves me a little bit of stuff, but they're in the wrong position. If I am to move the positions of any of these components, I need to do it in this step right here because this step locks in all my stuff into the positions that they're going to be for the rest of the design. Why is that important? The way Fusion 360 works is with timelines. I said it before, But with that timeline, each discrete step algorithmically brings you into the creation of your solids. Why is that a good thing? Why is that a bad thing? You know it's a bad thing because if things are in the wrong spot, everything can go to hell. But if things are in slightly the wrong spot, it can really be a huge advantage in having a movement in time, which is when you need to poop at a specific time of the day. No, it's move the thing in the creation of your objects. If you move something slightly and it doesn't disturb any of the overlapping sort of filled in areas that the software is interpreting, then it can have your holes move just a little bit to the right, right? Just a little bit to the right, which let me tell you, that's going to come in handy more than most any other feature on this program, is because things are off by just a little bit, and I could take a file to these holes, or I can scooch it over just a little bit using the distance tool in the sketch, and now everything's kind of scooched over, and I can hit print again and it fits. So that's sort of the power of the iteration of Fusion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit move, I'm going to hit M, and then I'm going to select components. So I'm going in, you can't see it. You can't see what I'm doing. You guys can't see what I'm doing. I need to get rid of this. But if I get rid of this, you guys can't see the two lights turning on and off. So maybe I'll just move this move copy over to here. There we go. We'll just put that there. That's going to get in the way, but the menu comes up when you hit M. And so you can select from the tree components, or I could select the components here with Shift and then hit M. So I could probably hit this, Shift this, hit M, and then you don't have to choose components for the menu. It'll just choose the components for you. And now we got to get them back into the right orientation. So if I just move this 90 degrees this way, these are all approximate distances at this point. We can kind of wiggle them better into position once we get an idea. We can wiggle them into position once we get a better idea of what the overall layout of this stuff is going to be. For now, I'm just going to float them in front of everybody, just this obscene amount of distance, and just click OK on that. Real numbers coming soon. So obviously that doesn't fit. It's sticking off of the top of the thing. But the next part we need to do is actually getting the big fans imported into our design. Now the big fans, I don't have a model for, but I do know that there's a model on GrabCAD. So we go to GrabCAD. This is the stuff that I always do. This needs to be here. This is the stuff that I always do on stream. And, you know, I know you guys have seen this before, but I'm just going to continue to do these same lessons over and over again. So GrabCAD is one of those sites that can be a little bit imperiled by having been bought out by a big company. But the company that bought it out is a big additive manufacturing gig. They do additive manufacturing for industrial clients. So if you need any additive manufacturing going on, and you've been using GrabCAD to make these like Fusion 360 designs historically, you know, it'd be a good idea to maybe look at these folks so that they stay solvent, because they are hosting the library. The community library in GrabCAD is just an absolute legend. It's a godsend. This has designs of all kinds on it, anything under the sun. Almost anything under the sun. So if I look up, I got to do Just Noctua, unfortunately. I forget what the exact name of it is, but everyone and their dog has decided to upload a version of a Noctua fan to GrabCAD, and there are very few 200mm ones on there, but there was one that I found relatively easily. It was near the front of the list. Oh, there's the EK Quantum Reservoir with better rendering. So what is the model of the 200mm Noctua fan? Let's go look. Late to your quest. Oh no, never mind. Sorry, I read Short Lurker's comment again. I'm in autopilot mode. Oh, you can read that from like space. NF820. Get my mic cable back over here. NFA20. Is it dash A20 or wait, I don't have to get up. I can just look at it from here. I can't quite read that from here. NF dash A20, okay. Download mode. NFA9. There she is. Which one do we want? Do we want Stefan's or Michael's? Do we steal from Stefan or Michael? Michael looks like they're using AutoCAD. And they've got the little bumpies in the fan blade. The idea is you grab the AutoCAD file, yes, from GrabCAD, and use it to create your modification. I'm not creating a modification. I'm not modifying anything. I am grabbing the file from GrabCAD, putting it into AutoCAD, and then designing brackets around it. That's like 99% of engineering, and it's more than half of the types of things that we build on this stream. This is one of the reasons why I have been so enamored with doing a 944 project, 944 being an Audi, essentially, it's a Porsche. I would love one day when I get a big windfall, you know, the president calls me up and goes, "Hey Jesse, I want to give you $10,000 for a cool project." I would buy a 944 and I would put an electric motors in it, because the 944 is a lot of space to put stuff in, and it's kind of this pod where you have two people sitting in the middle of two axles, and it's got a cool shape, a cool 80s looking shape to it. But then on top of that, when you're doing like an electric project, you have these drivetrains that you literally just transplant into the car. And as long as you can get the axles, you can weld axles together to create adapter axles to your outputs, you've got this 300 horsepower power plant that needs a lot of batteries, but you know, you can fit that stuff inside and you can preserve a lot of the dynamics of like a good car, because these things have come so far. And then the responsibility of engineering on your end is to take a scanner and go, put that into CAD, position things using all the CAD tools, and then say, oh, I need this funky shaped bracket. And then you get the brackets made and you go bolt, 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 and there you go. That's like 90% of the project for me. Those are the parts that I struggle with because I'm not a mechanical engineer. The electrical stuff, I can just knock that out of the park. I can make my own custom everything, just given time and the amount of effort that I'm willing to put in, which is usually way too much. So yeah, the GrabCAD is a wonderful enabler and all that. One channel that has done literally that type of project, just without the electrical skills, is Superfast Matt. They've been uploading for a long time, and his files are on GrabCAD. You can get the Tesla powertrain 3D model. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of classic car scanners out there, so I can't get a 944 model without paying hundreds of dollars. So don't mean anything in a negative way. Saves you time building upon somebody else's work, that kind of thing is like sharing. I don't mean to be negative. It's a way to save time doing something that nobody else has already created. Well, yeah, no, I don't think anybody's created something as stupid as a fan adapter from a dual triple 80 millimeter fan mount radiators to a dual 200 millimeter fan. Nobody wants to do something that weird, and that's just something that I've done out of necessity of the parts that I have, because I'm not ordering a $130 radiator. You know, like $130, maybe that's not a lot for a lot of you guys. I could just spend the money, probably without too much repercussion, and then I could just sandwich the fans on it, and then I'd have more cooling. You know, I'd have a better cooler on this computer. But I am dealing with the stuff that I have. I'm working within my own means. So here we are with a weird thing that I got to create. I wish I could turn on, I need to find the setting to turn that off, the auto password saving. Anyway, log into GrabCAD, download the files. Thank the person who made it, Germany. Okay, that makes sense. Toss them a like. So now, from here, I'm going to go into my fans section. Where'd that at? Fans. It should be just in here. It should just say fans. There it is. All the computer fans that I have. Wait a minute. Oh, P14. So that's the 140 millimeter. We're full blown 200 millimeters. So let's go to the download section here and just drag and drop. It didn't download yet. Wait a minute. What the? Why don't we download? Download files. Oh, I have to wait for it to prepare the download. Okay, we'll just give it a second. There you go. Create some kind of custom object. Why not upload it so somebody else could? Well, yeah, if you're going through the trouble to create an entire Noctua fan with all of the details on it, I think it's kind of an amazing thing to upload it like this. This is a really good model. Like, look at it has all the details. I would never need to know that there are dimples on the front. You know, that's not something that I need out of the model, but it's here to download. So, you know, be sure to thank people for doing that sort of thing. And if I ever come into like a windfall of money, I might have to go back through all of my, all of the CAD models that I've used traditionally in these projects and throw them like a couple bucks, because it's really cool to be able to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload to this folder, just click upload, and because I'm a stupid Windows user, like not even like an elite one, originally a Mac user, I'm going to drag and drop these files in, but I'm just going to take the step file. That's all that I really need. Actually, F3D is probably the one that I want to use, because the step file may be included with the F3D. I don't know. F3D might pull with it the textures and colors. We click upload, and then we actually run into something that I haven't run into since the early 2000s in transferring Xbox Live accounts from computer to computer, or from, sorry, well, actually at some point we were able to do that too, but taking the Xbox Live accounts to a memory card and moving it over to another machine. You could technically do it through the online service, but they slowed it down. Kind of, maybe. We're not sure, but we're pretty sure that they slowed it down. So you had to buy their memory card, and then you could use your memory card to instantly transfer your account. That's how we used to play Halo. NFA 20 version 3. With no further inspection, I'm literally just going to drag and drop it into this file. It is not a small fan. It is the size of the entire wall panel. But if we can make it fit, it'll be much, much quieter for the radiators. Rough position, because we don't care where it's placed right now. We're just going to hit OK on the move. Let's close this. OK on the move, but now what we need to do is actually pull this before the, what is it called? What's that tool called? The capture position command. Capture position just represents a little machinist square. That's essentially, oh, you can't see that window. You can't see that window because of this thing. Need to put that on a button. Oh, and now you can't see that window. Okay, it resembles a machinist square, just to give you kind of the impression of everything is sort of measured and locked in place. I use Noctua fans because this is a studio and studios are supposed to be quiet, although I do run a floor fan, which isn't that quiet. It's a big floor fan and it keeps the air churning around here so that when I sweat profusely like I normally do, I can actually cool my body off. But what I did is I dragged and dropped the addition of this fan piece to before this position step. And I don't know why it did that. Oh yeah, because it moved. Oh, wait a minute. We didn't click OK. We didn't click OK on the movement of these things. I forgot to do that. So these reverted back to their previous position. That's fine. That's fine. Before we do a move and copy on this thing, because I have two of these, what I would like to do is, well, first of all, position it above the one, and then we can pull it down to the other end. But also, we can now double click on that step, and the fan will be included in that final position. So now we can move all of our components and get them kind of in relation to one another. And then click finish on that, and that's when we'll start our sketches. Whoa, too many things selected. There we go. Okay, so these two right here. And then I'm going to right click, shift right click, and then move copy. Or shift left click, right click, move copy. There we go. Two things there. I'm just going to free ball it. Bring it in. Let's go in here a little bit. Kind of want them to be in between these two rows, and we'll have to figure that out later. I want, as best as I can manage, it would be nice to be able to access all of like the mounting screws from the outside of whatever brackets hold these in. And we're going to need some room in the back because there's going to need to be air flowing through there. So roughly position these there. The distance apart may need to change, so I'm going to click OK on those. Oh, that's going to be a bit of an awkward fit, huh? Let's go to orthogonal view from the top and see if we can't get this position. Yeah, the 200mm fan is big. I think I'm going to have to do like a split airway. It's going to be like an intake manifold, which will be kind of fun, you know? So let's move the fan itself. Move copy. Yeah, it'd be something like right there. Maybe we can further center things in a minute. I should probably split these so that the center of the fan has a little bit of space. I don't know how much I want to move them. Let's square up some of the measurements here and maybe move them apart from each other a little. And remember, when we're done this, we click up here. We click on the position sketch, or the finish position or whatever, to lock everybody in place. So move this, and I'm going to move it up a little bit. Move it like there. Well, I kind of want, yeah, I want to move that just a little bit there. Okay, that's good for that. And the next one, just a little bit. I don't want to go too far. This is going to be a very strange part. Strange parts is like, say that again. Move this one closer. Let's go orthogonal from the quote-unquote front. And remember, as I do this, I am considering what my actual 3D print is going to look like. I want to make sure that I kind of contextualize my design in terms of having the sketches be the print bed, because that's how additive manufacturing works. I can work with the shapes from there in order to get it into a good shape. Now, if I really wanted to, I can either do this minimalistically or I could move this way out. I don't really want to move it way out. I kind of want this to be a little bit minimalistic, but I should give air some room to expand and fill the areas that I'm trying to fill. Centering this thing will happen in a minute. Actually, that could happen now. Well, let's click OK on that and wait to do centering, but we can decide sort of how many millimeters, and I'll make those even numbers. More even than what I've got right now. Because currently I am just looking to see, hey, will this work? And as far as what my engineering brain is screaming right now. It's just screaming. It's confused screaming. It's just confused screaming. Because that's going to be a hell of a draft angle that this thing will have to use. And I'm going to basically put a shroud over each one so that all of the airflow of the fan is finding itself, all of the pieces of the radiator. And so we'll create a vacuum on one side and pressure on the other, and that should carry with it all the heat from the computer, and hopefully means that these fans will not have to ramp up all the way. And if they do, hopefully we don't get too much whooshing noise from this thing. We're not going to do like a flow analysis on this. That would be crazy. I think these will be enough cooling though. I think so. So, okay, I guess the next task is just to get this thing centered on everybody. So let me get the distance between these two radii just to be like an even number. This is designed in an inch, this piece with all the holes. I think I'm going to keep this in millimeters just to keep myself from going insane. Oh my God, did you hear that? An American actually said that. He said, I would like to keep this in millimeters to keep from going insane. Oops, that was a bad click. That was a bad click on my measure. So from here to here. Oh, of course, the intuitive measurement, 26.599 millimeters. So let's move the top one. I suppose that could be considered our middle name. Move. What? Oh, move copy. And we want to go in this direction. And we want to go 0.401. Did I do that right? I did head math on stream. I know that's illegal. 26.999. Move. I can't sleep at night with this being 999. Move this way. 0.00. You know how much 0.001 of a millimeter is? It's tiny. It's nothing. Really? Should it really be that far apart? I think so, because there's a big dead area behind this. And this goes up to the edge with a little bit of wiggle room here. So it create like drafting one onto the other, I think will be really good in this case. I think. Listen, I'm an electrical engineer. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, 0.001. Don't you tell me no 99. You son of a bitch. If it's 0.999 and I've moved it multiple 0.001s, where are my numbers? What's going on? Why you betray me? Everybody betray me. I just, listen, if it's not an even number, then something under the scenes, something behind the scenes is going to screw me over. Let's just do 01, and if it says point, it's gonna say 0.001. It just feels like something's off. And I get, yeah, 0.009. But if I had 0.001, that's unacceptable. What I could do is just take this top one and I can move it using a point-to-point move, and that way it'll snap the 2 points that I plug in to one another. So I'm going to highlight that, hold control, and then select the center point. Highlight this, hold control, and select that center point right there. So now they are 0 millimeters from one another. And I can go back to the free move like this, move this, and move them 30 millimeters from one another. Things I do. So from here to here, we have 30.00 millimeters. So 15 millimeters off of one of the center edge of this thing. So what I'll do is I'm going to take the fan now, and I'm going to move copy the fan. And hopefully, if this design is merciful enough, I can do a point-to-point on this and select that center point right there and move that to the center point of this face. And then do my generic move it in this axis, 15 millimeters, and then we'll go up Well, let's go up 10. We'll give it a whole centimeter to play with. Well, 15 by 15, I guess. 15 up, 15 across. That makes sense. It's not a lot of drafting that's able to occur, but I'm not going to do any super crazy wind tunnel stuff on this. So that is now centered on this box, which is really where the action's happening, because these are add-ons to the ends. So the center here is the center of where the fans are and where the cooling is. That's a big stinky fan, isn't it? Now, presumably I can make one part, and then I can duplicate that part on the top and on the bottom. So that's kind of what I want to do. I want to make one part and make it symmetrical to draft the thing over to the thing, right? It's going to be a weird part, isn't it? I think maybe what I need to do is 2 sketches. One will mount to the top of, one will mount under the fan and be just a 1 millimeter plate, or 2 millimeter plate maybe. And then on the fans themselves, it'll be another plate, and then I'll draft one plate onto the other. Actually, it should probably be 2 plates because there'll be sort of a negative space in between these, which I don't want to bridge, but in 3D printing, I really don't want to have the giant full solid. I'd rather have the 2 ducts. Well, how would that even work? Think. Or it's going to be something off of the sides here, outwards, and then it has to draft over to the. Woo! This is gonna be tricky. Now, technically, I could just print a big square. That would probably do the job just fine. It would just be a big square, because it's not like we're dealing with like engine timings and stuff. It's just, is there high or low pressure air, and can it get to the next stage? Yes. And perhaps that's what we end up with, and I just do some like creative chamfering in order to move from one to the next. That may be what I end up doing. But for now, we're going to start this thing, and we're going to start it as a series of plates. It'll just be a series of plates. So actually, technically, I should be going off of the rubber thingy in order to create this plate. But I think maybe I'm just going to ignore the rubber pads. They are an integral part of this fan and how it mounts the stuff, but they also squish a little bit. So I think maybe 4 mounting points on just the outer holes, and that's it. Because that's enough to hold the fan up against the wall. It's enough to hold the radiators up against the wall. As long as we have a couple mounting points. PETG is a pretty strong filament. I'm not really going to run into the mechanical properties of it in this build. If I were holding a car up in the air, maybe I would run into some of the mechanical properties. But if you have even a low density infill on PETG, like, you can hold a car up with that. I may be exaggerating slightly, but not by much. So yeah, let's just go directly to the face surface here, and let's begin a sketch. I was negligent. See, we haven't positioned this thing overall yet, because we are going to be using these faces on the front here, like this one, in order to make something that'll adapt it to the bracket below and give room for air to get in. And I don't know what distance or what position that's going to be in, but that doesn't matter, because the part we're making is between this face and my radiator, and it's a symmetrical part. So we can start that now, but before we do, none of this stuff is in position. And it may be that I put it in position, design the part, and then I spin the part off as a subassembly. I may do that, but we'll decide on that later. So for now, my position of the fan relative to the radiators is in the place that I want it to be initially. So I'm going to fix the position, finish that step. Our algorithm is now repaired, essentially. So now we've got all of the steps of us pulling in parts. Those parts are being given positions, and now we're ready to hit the ground running with our design. It's a lot, but again, following these principles, I've been able to do some pretty complicated things with the CAD program that have worked out just fine. Although I do need to reprint all the little labeling guys. Whoa! My legs is falling asleep. So this is a pretty shallow transfer from thing to thing. This is going to be a little bit hinky. I want it to be shallow because already this thing is becoming the big thing on this whole design, right? I could do stuff in order to like make this a little bit more compact, but I've just a simple, because we've done this in other designs, is just make a simple fan adapter. And I think it would be kind of funny to make one like this. So then I guess our initial sketch is going to be on the back end of this. So what I'll do is I'll create sketch, which is the button all the way on the left. You could also just highlight the surface and right click and go create sketch. We're going to create a sketch on the back of the fan because that's where all of our dimensions are. And then we can project additional things into it. But right now you can see this is kind of a useless sketch. I can't see what I'm doing at all. Well, I don't need a lot of this stuff in the way when I'm creating this sketch. So I could just go down through my list of components and unview anything that I don't need. Here's the thing, if you've got some of this stuff in view and you actually extrude these items, if there are bodies, which we're working in components right now, we're about to create a body by extruding. When we create a body by extruding, if that body is visible and in contact with another body, and I decide to extrude it, Fusion will assume that I want some kind of interaction between those two bodies, and sometimes it will actually meld your two bodies together. And if you have a new version of a design that you don't necessarily want to have, like the old version of the design kind of like stapled onto it, like it was some kind of radiation spill accident, you need to unview those bodies. So getting familiar with those viewing tools is very important. Unviewing stuff that's not crucial to what you're building is also very important too. And you can work with some pretty complicated assemblies that have tons and tons of different sub-assemblies that you can then unview or get into and edit. It gets kind of crazy with Fusion. Luckily for us, we're out here on the sort of simple side of things. We're a little bit more simple than that. We do honest work here. We don't do crazy intermeshing, weird-ass solids. Okay, so boy, this is going to be a weird thing, isn't it? So let's get the radiators out of here. We don't need to worry about them right now. We were just creating an initial plate to help us kind of draft one thing to the other and see, I don't know, maybe see how the software deals with it. This is a solid object. This outer, basically the whole thing that I've got highlighted right here is one of the objects on this thing. I guess maybe what I can do is add a radius to this so that we can cut it as just the outside outline, and then I could work from there. Redoing these holes, I could either here I could draw a new circle, or I could use push-pull later on to narrow the screws that we're actually going to use, so that when I put a fastener in from the other side, the threads will capture the plastic, right? Because this is our overall outside radius. It is not the ideal radius for a 3D print to capture a screw. Should I use push-pull on that? Well, anyway, first things first, what I'd like to do is take this center point here. Now, this model is great. This is a very big fan, and it's got this nice model that this fellow made, this German fellow made. It's got a center point on it, which sometimes you don't find, because sometimes they'll use weird geometries in order to sort of recreate what the company has created. But for us, the easy part is all we have to do is take the circle tool, and we've got this nice point right in the middle that we can glom onto and create a radius. Why is that green? Hold on. If it's, so in this dark mode, if the color of the line is green, that means it's unanchored. Let's just give it a chance. So we're gonna come all the way out to this edge here and just go right to that. And so now our solid is only this stuff on the outside. So this is unperturbed. You know, maybe someday at some point I could create a nose cone for this thing, but or am I, wait a minute, am I creating a nose cone for this thing? Because we're not just drafting the outside. We've got that centerpiece in the way, and we could make a separate piece for the middle that goes up to that. I don't think I like that. I think we're just leaving it open. I think I'm just going to leave it open, because then it's just kind of a hollow cavity, and I know there will be weird interaction with this piece here, but maybe later we can create a nose cone shape for it. we'll start with this. Let's just start with this. I'll keep all the holes here just in case I have a change of heart and I want to use the other ones. So that is actually all that I need to do from this sketch. So finish that sketch, and then I'll hit E for extrude, this right here, and we'll take that 2 millimeters down. So now we have created a solid that is 2 millimeters thick and is a plate that fits onto the back of our 120 millimeter fans. It's kind of neat. I think that's kind of neat. Boy, that 2 millimeters does not go very far, does it? 2 millimeters is a little bit flimsy. I could bump that to 3, and if I want to, I can double click on the extrusion here, and I can bring the extrusion settings, which is this window over here, and I can do 3 millimeters. That was, I just hit the 2 key. What key did I hit? 3. 3 is a little bit more beef chunky. That gives me something for a screw to attach to, so maybe we'll just keep that like that. And then in order to determine which screw holes I'm using, or in order to prepare the screw holes that I'm using, let's see what bolts am I going to use on this thing. Because I want to keep all of my steps next to each other for each of the solids, instead of making 2 plates, drafting them together, then going back and figuring out what the screw holes are. Although for this, well, for this we know which the screw holes are. Coming back and figuring them out later could actually be useful in this design, because we might be covering stuff over that I don't want to. I want this to be easy to assemble. All right, let me get the calipers and this thing. We'll just figure out what bolts I'm using. I have collections of bolts that I like to use for these sorts of things. Of course, these take up the entire desk. I forgot that I closed all the registers in here. I was freezing to death. It was cold. All right, so my bolt kit, I think, like, ran away. I don't know what happened to it. I had it. It was out. I was using it for the modular synthesizer. Everything was going great. And then stuff happened, and I put stuff away or put it somewhere else. And now my collection of bolts are gone. My noble gases are gone. I don't think it got back to where I store things like that. I store things in particular locations, like down there is where I put the hardware. That's where I put that kind of bolt. But I don't see the kit sitting on top. I want to take out like an alternative. I think I put it down. One of these surfaces is going to hold my hardware. I can't find it. Did I put it back here? That's a big noper. No, it's not there. It must have gone back where it's supposed to go. It must have gone back down there. It just, I just don't immediately see it. Going here? No. Yeah, there's some bins on the side here. That must be what it is. I think this is the big collection. Yeah, these are the good ones. This is the good stuff. We kind of need the good stuff in order to get this all mounted, and I'm going to need M4 for the riv nuts that go into the backboard. So if we can keep them all in the same kind of size screw, that would actually be quite useful. God, these things are a lot bigger than I give them credit for. I thought I'd use this thing, this maker beam thing, in order to carry wind out of the shop so that I could exhaust all of the air in here a lot faster, but I never ended up finding a power supply for it. So that grips the fan. I don't want that. So M5 is out. So M4 is likely to be loose in here, right? Yeah. So we'll plan for M4 holes. M4 holes, nice and easy to remember. Let me get the calipers and show you guys something. Where are my calipers? What did I do with them? They're over here. They were sitting on the desk for too long. We were at risk of getting gross. So the thing about bolt holes in 3D printed plastic, know thy printer. You've got to know your printer. PETG shrinks by about 3%, I think, at the end of the print. I've not really run into a lot of that issue. I have done quite a few iterations, though, and the iteration that I know is that if we have 4 millimeters for a bolt, I need to have a 3.8 millimeter hole to get this to grip loosely. If I go to 7 or 6 millimeter, 3.7 or 3.6 millimeter, then we are tightly gripping this M4, and it's going to be actually kind of difficult to get this thing to screw in place. That might be useful. I don't think that's going to be too terribly useful here, because we'll just have 4 bolts holding this thing on, and as long as they've got a loose grip on the PETG, I don't think I have a cat that's going to like come over and like try to walk on top of this thing, and I'm not going to run up to it and go ah and like break this thing apart and blow it up. So a 0.2 fit is really good for us. So we need to actually calculate what that fit's going to be. Yeah, exactly. So what are millimeter? Millimeter are really diameter is 6, so 2 millimeter to get to 4, so we need to go 2.2 inwards on the 4 extremities, on the 4 holes on the ends. So I will then take the press pull command, which is technically on the list, but you can also just pull down the modify menu. So we're modifying the solid that we extruded, and we are going to press pull. We're going to press, never split face, split body, chamfer there. Oh, all the way at the top. Q is apparently the key for it. So press pull, and we're going to select the inside of the ones that we're going to bolt to. As long as they're insides, they won't yell at me. Did I select the right one over here? No, I didn't. Hit Control, and then you can deselect. And then this one. And then we're going 2.2. That did not do what I thought it would do, because it's working in diameter. So we need to go 1.1. Luckily for us, this is what's called iterative design, where, well, typically in iterative design, we would have printed the entire thing and gone, oh, what happened? In this case, we can see that that's not the hardware that I'm using. That's not what's going on there. So we went in 2.2, but that was a radius and not a diameter. So we set our calculator to work in radians, and instead of the 2.2 over here, we go 1.1. And that looks a little bit more like an M4 bolt. Knowing that CAD programs can be a little bit disorienting, and you think, boy, look at all these, I've made so few details on this design that I think everything is perfect, and then you go and you print it out and you go, oh my God, that was a lot smaller than I thought it was. So yeah, given the relative size of everything, I think this is pretty good right now. This is thin right here. It'll still print just fine, it's just thin. It would be funny to do like aerodynamic like cones on the back of all of these things, like these wings that come into the center. I'd give it like a cone behind it. There will be no turbulence at all going through my air ducting. No, that's not the case. Yeah, I'm wondering if I need to like do a 2 millimeter circle around that and fill that in with plastic, and then use that to draft to another. That may be the thing that I need to do. I may need to go back into these sketches later and do more stuff. Let's just finish the plates on. So that's done. We're done with that one. That is our top plate. And if I printed that out right now, I could put a little 2 millimeter pad on these fans, a little gasket. So we're done with that sketch. We're done with that extrusion. That would be these 2 steps right here. Now I'm going to start in on the other side. So I definitely don't need to view this, and I definitely don't need to view the body that we just created. Now, I didn't select the top of the bodies tree because when we extrude the other part, I want to be able to actually see the body that I extrude. So this disables all the stuff. Well, I'm not going to rename it right now. We'll just leave default names. So yeah, we unview those individual things inside of their tree because more objects are going to be created inside of those trees. All right, radiators. Now we're working with both of these as one. So there are the 2 radiators, and we are working upwards from where the fittings are. So we want to sketch on any of these 4 plates. We'll just choose the bottom one. and I create a sketch. Now here's the thing, this sketch is just this plate. It's actually not even that plate, it's the top surface of this component. So I do have all of the outlines and stuff there from this component. I don't have any of the others. So what I'll do is I'll hit the letter P. Now luckily for us, Alpha Cool is pretty cool dudes and don't afraid of anything. So instead of rendering threads on these holes, we just have the circular hole. That's extremely useful. I say that because threads are not symmetrical. And so if we want the center of that hole, sometimes we do have things that we can key off of, but it's better to just have a circle representing your threads unless you're actually printing the threads, which you could do. I've seen people do it. But so anyway, I'm going to hit project P, and I'm going to select this entire surface, this entire surface, this entire surface. Click OK. Now we've got all of those elements added to our sketches, and these are just the radius. These extra dots are just the radiuses of the corners. Now we also want to be able to close this thing up. So I am actually going to project this surface as well. This one as well, because that's actually a pretty decent thickness there. There's one over here, and there's one over here. These are nice to go off of. This is another thing that is kind of nice about Alpha Cool, is that they gave us all the tools we need in order to create some kind of a plate that closes off airflow on the radiator. Good stuff. We're done with this sketch. Aside from the fact that it's a little bit full of holes. Has there been any progress with regards to burn the subs? I've explained it before. We have made progress on burn the subs. Right now what I'm working on, most of the progress being Twitch API stuff. We've got that mostly figured out. The next pieces of it were to work on the Raspberry Pi, and so we got a vacuum fluorescent display to display stuff from the Raspberry Pi. We know that works. That's part of Burn the Subs. That's the screen on Burn the Subs. Next, I want to incorporate visualization into the Burn the Subs, because the plate that goes in front of the power supply, I want to have that do a display, and I want it to be a reactive thing. I want it to look nice. I want it to have sort of appeal to it. And so in order to give it that appeal, what I'm going to be doing is putting milk drop plugins onto that small LED display. And that can, of course, bleed out into other visualization projects. But what that will do is provide Burn the Subs with that sort of front panel that'll be a nice little visual cue that everything is running just fine on Burn the Subs. Then from there, I've got to do wiring. We got to do wiring at some point. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. Yeah, I've got, I appreciate those raids. So, all right, what are we going to do? We're going to extrude from all of this stuff that I just highlighted, and then I'll create two sort of brackety kind of things. So we got to select all of our enclosed spaces. If you think about the way Fusion 360 is going to treat the extrusions in the future, what it will do is it will look for, and it probably gives some kind of an internal ID to all of these enclosed spaces. And the enclosed spaces are what you highlight to make the extrusions. So knowing that enclosed spaces in extrusions create the solids that make up your design. If you move something in Fusion enough to create new enclosed spaces, that's where Fusion gets confused. So you avoid that confusion by keeping all of those enclosed spaces from having new overlaps. Or if anything does happen, Fusion will get confused. It'll highlight the steps, the extrusions on your timeline that you need to go back to and correct. Okay, we have created two plates. We do not know where the screws are coming through on this one. So I'm going to unview that sketch. We're going to leave that alone for right now. Now, this isn't exactly what's there. The Alpha Cool radiators that I have are a slightly different design, but very, very slightly different. One thing that I don't like is that we don't have screw space on the top here. So actually what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the sketch again. Let's go back to sketch 2. Let's view it again, double click, and I'm going to add on this piece. So I'm going to, I guess, just project the entire thing. Just project that and that. Even though that's curved, it'll project onto a flat surface. It'll project on as a flat surface. And are we getting in the way of fittings here? It's surprisingly close to getting in the way of fittings. It's possible that I'll need a notch in the future, and I think I've already learned this lesson. What do we have on the other ones? Hold on, let's take a look at the other assembly. That ain't the right one. This one here. Let's see. Oh, I see. I didn't have to interact with it at all. I didn't have to worry about it because the Noctua fans end before the end of the radiator. All this air is going to get in right there and ruin everything. Anyway, okay, so it wasn't as tight of a design. All right, so finish the sketch. Now you can see we don't have the bodies. The bodies have not hit the floor on this one yet because we went back in time when we went to edit the sketch. When you go to edit the sketch, it'll rewind your progress to wherever the sketch was created, because all this stuff goes in at once. Just boom, there's your full sketch. Boom. Cool. Okay, so now that we've got the full sketch there, I'm going to edit my extrusion instead of creating a new one. I'm going to edit it and then select the new outlines, and that'll give us just a little bit more material to play with. Now we run into the part where Oh Bother has not done any homework at all whatsoever. He does not know what he's doing. He does not know how to work with this stuff any further along than he already has. I don't know what I'm doing. So from this gasket we created, putting this onto the other body is something of a challenge for me. Do not know what I'm doing. We have two complicated shapes that have sort of a radius on it, and what I technically want to do is sort of ignore the center area, I guess, and just put one block to the other block. But I don't want like the holes to be like a complicated draft from one thing to the other. Technically what I want is, and I'm just thinking about this out loud, is a radius around this circle that we would then draft to a radius around this piece, and then I could punch the holes through and give them just screw geometry. It'd be a radius around this inner piece, wouldn't it? Or if I draft the inner piece of this to the inner piece of this and give that like a thickness, is that what I'd want? But it would also have to somehow realize that it's half and half. So maybe what I want to do is edit my extrusions so that I don't have those center pieces, and then marry them to each other on this bottom. Okay, so going back to sketch 1. No, not sketch 1. I want sketch 2. Finish the sketch. Sketch 2. And then take this piece and just bring it up to here. And again, this I'll show you. We'll be able to show you actually what happens in Fusion when things don't go the way they're supposed to happen. So I'm closing that one off, then I'm going to come over here and close this one off to create sort of an outer radius. We can work on it from there, but for right now, I just want to enclose my outer border and then mate it to the other outer border to create an outer shell that I can weld to the other shell. And since we'll be 3D printing this, we want to, like, you know, keep in mind that it's going to be building up from the bottom. Maybe. Okay, finish the sketch. So it wasn't too terribly confused. You know, it's pretty good at figuring out all the stuff that you want on the timeline. But what I'll do is I will go back to this extrusion and we will deselect the pieces that I don't need right now. That may later get an extrusion, but I'll do that and sort of tie them together. And do that out here. And then that's it. And we've got one body instead of two. Yeah. Pretty nice, huh? All right, so how do I do, how do I draft this thing without it being a total, this is gonna blow up my computer because it's gonna be trying to figure out a lot of weird stuff. So this is the advantage of using a CAD program, but at the same time, it's also a burden on my ability to stream and do all this stuff all at once. It's gonna be a hell of a show, maybe. And then I'm just thinking about, like, how do I get to these screws? I'll have to bore something through the whole thing and then have like a captured fastener. Is that going to be the way that it goes? Yeah, Last Miles gets a lot of views. You guys haven't checked it out. Last Miles' stream. I shot myself in the foot like 17 times at the beginning of stream because all of my software, Never hit update. I keep Fusion 360 up to date, and that doesn't cause a lot of problems on stream. But I updated OBS in the middle of updating to Firefox. I moved everything to Firefox at the beginning of stream, and I'm only just discovering all the accounts that I typically use streaming. It's fine. It's fine. We're getting through it, and I said I'd do it anyway. So we were almost fully in Firefox, except that we had to find a Chromium app for chat, so we'd have both chats on stream. That still doesn't run as smoothly as I'd like it to. Then we have, oh God, it was just a string of unfortunate events that happened all on Twitch. Hopefully Twitch stitches all those streams together. I don't think YouTube will. But I had to do restarts. I had to restart OBS. I had to update OBS. I had to update Stream Deck, etc., etc., etc. So and every time you do that, you lose viewers because people come in and they go, oh, something's messed up. I'm going to watch somebody else. That's fine. People do what they want. I'm totally okay with it. But, Tuesdays are pretty quiet, but, every now and then we get a decent amount of people. So what are we doing here? We're not extruding, we are lofting. So if we use the loft tool and I loft this surface onto this surface, what happens? I may have to do extrusions without the holes. We may have to actually do that on this. Without changing any of the selections. Can I look at an analysis? No, let's just do the loft could not be created. Try changing the inputs, swapping profiles for the rails or center line, or adjusting the continuity conditions. Closed. Not closed. If I loft one of these to the other, join operation. This is a lot. This may be something that's better created by working with surfaces. And I don't have a center line for the loft. Double tangent, didn't work. Curvature, 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 curvature. Huh, why is there a distance being given? Are we in the wrong command? Am I doing this wrong? Hold on. No, that doesn't really do much. I mean, I guess what I could do is try to create. I mean, if I did automated modeling, pipe pattern, mirror, none of this is doing it. Boundary fill, nah. Loft and sweep and revolve are not what I need for this. This is more like shell, draft, not combine and split. I might need to actually use the whatever it is, the these guys. And I'll need to, maybe I need to work with that on my own a little bit, because if I create like polygon structures between the two, then I can massage that in order to be like a smooth transition between the two. We've used Loft in the past to do weird fan adapters. How did we do that? Let's take a look at the old design, and I can just kind of look at that with you guys, and then we'll be done for the day. I won't continue to bend my brain around this because I'm already too stressed out from all the technical failures that we had at the beginning of stream. But this software is able to do a lot of really cool stuff. And I think it's possible that I could use the forming tools to do a much smoother job of this and create something that looks sort of interesting visually. Or, I mean, in the end, what really matters about adapting these two to one another, I can literally just extrude a bunch of stuff onto each other and then chamfer in between them and make it like pseudo smooth. But I don't really want to do that. I'd rather it like be like a sweep from one thing to the other. And I think maybe with the forming tools I could fit things to things and kind of smooth between all of the different pieces that I'm putting together. I'll have to look up some tutorials to do that. But let's see what we did last time. We've done this before for the stream computer. So this would be stream PC, and we had 140 to 120, I believe, is the part. Yeah, 140 to 120. We created this abomination. Oh, we had much simpler shapes, didn't we? What action was it? Extrude, extrude. Those are for all the fittings. We literally just chamfered them into one another. Really? Oh, I extruded it and made a shell? I used a shell? What in the heck? Interesting. Well, that's a little fancy. We made a lofted extrusion and then shelled it. And that somehow opened it up. Hold on, we can reverse. Again, like this is the advantage of Fusion 360 is that we have a algorithm to follow. So the original sketch looked like a bunch of crazy stuff. And then I made a plane for some reason. And then I extruded a flat plate, gave the flat plate the mounting for the 140 millimeter fan. I made a chamfer to the inner edge of the 140 millimeters that also fit the outside. That's interesting. Core out the inside. Extruded a plate to mount the fan to. Extruded the outer edge of the fan to allow for airflow, which left me with these four little trophy shouldery things. Extruded somehow a flat edge onto the four corners. Put a bolt hole sort of through it. Put more of a bolt head hole. Then opened up the inside. And then who the hell knows what that last step was? Bit more complicated than I thought it would be, and I think maybe in the new one the angles are a little bit weirder, and I would like them to be sweeping a little bit more, use more of the Bezier curves on the things. So I'm going to figure out about using the bodies, whatever these things are, and maybe making like an inner and an outer plane that'll then fit to one another. So I maybe give this thing a radius on the outside that I can then go from and pull that down to a radius around the inside here, and then we figure out what the inside sort of blocking bit's going to be. And I think that's the way that I'll do it. It'll just have sort of more of a sweeping form on the outer radius of whatever's attaching to that top plate. Or I could just take it as a big solid outline and have 4 bolts on the outside and 4 on the... Hey, Siflet8, thank you for subbing. Thank you for subbing. We got kind of a busy display here. How's it going, Siflet8? Thank you for the 56 months. What's up? Oh, not much. Getting stuff together, getting my week together here and putting together some projects, and hopefully we'll be able to make progress on these things in the near future. These are a little bit close for there to be like a sweep between the two. It's going to be a bit clunky looking. Also wanted to like remake how this thing goes together. No, I think what I should do is probably just draft something from here to here, from the edges to the edges. Just create like a solid on the radiuses, and then I can give that thickness later. For some reason, double click to follow the outline is not working. But I think using either the mesh tools or the sheet metal tools, I can create that. What the? Suddenly we're far away. We're so far. Okay, so anyway, yeah, let's click save. I'm gonna save this, and I'll figure out what's going on with it so that I can have more of an informed like thing going on. What the? Siflet8 is gifting subs. They added Valorant added a gift to that sub. Siflet8, you do not have to do that. Thank you so much. They went to Krillin64 to a name that I could not ever pronounce. Vitus13 though is the account name. Wargstein, PBR85 Paul Schwan, and Dave Mech. You guys can thank Siflet8 for those gift subs. You did not have to do that. That's very, very kind. Yeah, we've got big fans. These are big, and you're a big fan too. I really appreciate that very much. Yeah, so the this project is for a wall-mounted PC. We've got all of our stuff in AutoCAD, and the challenge of it is to just build brackets. And so, as is usual, I got completely well, first of all, I got slapped in the face by my own stream, but then after that, I got kind of a little bit embedded in the details. We found a very nice model for these 200 millimeter Noctua fans. They're a little bit big on the setup, but what I'd like to do is get all of the brackets and solid pieces together. And so it's going to be a lot of sort of Fusion 360 humping, where we just make sort of substrates and then we put one substrate onto the other and make sure that it looks like it's strong. And if it looks like it's strong, the typical engineering parlance is that it will be. It's just when it comes to merging two completely weird shapes together, I'm not that good at that. And I can come up with stuff pretty well in like flat surface editing software. It's possible that using the either the mesh or the sheet metal, not sheet metal, probably mesh tools, I think I could probably get the two shapes to sort of mold into one another, to get this to mold into here so that it creates just a smooth transition. And then from there, give it a little thickness. I'm not sure though. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research on this. I ran into kind of a research block. So anyway, we've saved everything. I'm not gonna save this one. That's our previous attempt at building this, something like this. These are much different shapes, and so they're gonna come through in a much more complicated way, I think. Like I can't just extrude a circle down to this and then chamfer it. That's not gonna work. So yeah, all right. So that's today's stream. It's been a massive failure. I have been this close to a rage quit. Siflet8 gifted 5 subs, so you guys made up for it. My mood is vastly improved. I need to go take the dog out because my legs are numb from sitting on the stool for too long. So the next stream is going to be Thursday. I don't think we're going to be doing AutoCAD, but we might. Oh. Why did that? That's not what the next command's supposed to look like. I don't think I ever did the admin command, did I? Did somebody overwrite my next command? That's weird. Oh, that's not next, that's end. I'm sorry. This is how discombobulated I am, that I forgot what my own end command is. I'd sketch the top and the bottom ends of the rectangle and extrude and taper angle. I thought that was the whole purpose of loft, right? If I did a rectangle and a circle, then I could loft them into each other, right? The only reason I know what TOC means is that there used to be a Volvo 164 website, and I used to own a Volvo 164 in high school. It was a very strange car. I loved it. And so the register site for the Volvo 164s were, it was in Swedish or in English. And so there's two things that you could click on, you know, this Web 1.0. And the Swedish one was, one side said, in English, please, with the British flag. And then the other side said, Pa svenska tack. And you're like, wait, oh, it's the same phrase. Yeah, thank you for the sub. Anyway, so I guess I could do a square and a circle, and then I could merge them into one another with loft. I think that might be a little boring though, and we've got a lot of like weird geometries on the outside that I kind of want them in the design, just because it's stupid. So I'm gonna look at that. I'm gonna take a look at that and keep that in consideration, because literally the loft tool has a square and a circle, and it lofts one into the other. Yeah, it doesn't like the weird shapes, but this is why CAD exists. So this is figure outable on my end. I'll look into it. It may be that I need to just ignore the little tabs. I may need to just ignore the little tabs, because if I don't have the little tabs, then it's just square into circle, right? This into this inner edge. So if I project that into a square that goes all the way down here, then I can just figure it out from there. That's probably the way that I'll do it. All right, anyway, yeah, you guys, well, I'm gonna do the end card again because I've flubbed it. I'm so, listen, having your whole stream set up, like your whole software set up, just fall down like that, that's a lot. It really kind of gets your mental state. I'll be back on Thursday though. You guys will see me Thursday. Until then, go out and check out other streamers. Last Miles is pretty cool. If I open Twitch, is it going to open to my account now? It will, yeah. So Roboz is going, Boom is going. Cosmo Questix is on with the daily grind. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Anybody else? Nah, we're good. So, okay. I'll catch you all later. Yeah, and then at some point in the near future, we're actually going to finish something. We'll have time to work on it, and we'll carry through to the end. Maybe I'll have more CAD stuff to do, and we'll actually make some real progress, because I'll be able to hit the ground running. Fusion hadn't been started up for weeks, and I hadn't done the move to Firefox. I think I'm pretty confident that we've moved everything fully over. So next time we'll hit it out of the park, and then we have to go get our ball.